With pots and planters all over the country bursting with produce, now's the time to sprinkle some magic amongst the veggies.
They look so beautiful.
So join Mrs. T and me.
Well done, Alison. Good day's work.
And the Love Your Garden team.
Oh, it looks jazzy.
As our veg patches undergo a dramatic final transformation.
That cabbage is bigger than you, mate.
Into flower-filled,
That's really rather lovely.
sweet-scented
Oh, it smells so delicious.
gardens.
I'm so pleased with this. It's the garden that I always wanted.
It's now been 8 weeks since Alison and I began working on our veg patches.
It's wonderful just what's happened in just a few weeks. Alison's still behind the camera. You're doing awfully well.
Thank you.
And everything is just burgeoning. I've got carrots coming now. Look at these. Now, they'll only be little, but baby carrots are wonderful in the pan. I like vegetables small because they're tender and fresh that way.
You can still grow late-season carrots from seed in July, and they'll be ready to harvest in September.
Oh my goodness, buttered carrots with basil. Aren't they good, Alison?
Delicious.
Delicious. There's so much more to come as well. The runner beans are legging it up the wigwam, and now you can see why they're called scarlet runners, because the scarlet flowers are in bud just about to open. They'll open and then you'll get a cluster of beans. Harvest them while they're young. Don't wait till they're big and long and stringy, because by picking them young, you'll encourage the runner beans to produce more beans.
My new step-over apple trees are going great guns too.
There's plenty of fruit on these trees, which is wonderful in a way, but there can be too many. Now, there is a natural phenomenon called June drop. It's happened here on this cluster. This little fruit has not developed properly and it's dropped off. It's the tree's natural way of thinning its crop.
If a tree has too much fruit on it, it can affect the quality of the crop, but you can give it a helping hand.
What you need to do in summer, it's very simple pruning. These shoots that grow, pinch out the shoot tip after 3 or 4 leaves.
That way, you encourage the formation of next year's flower buds. It's not too late to add fruit to the veg patch this summer, but it'll need to be grown in a container. One of my favourites is perfect for small spaces.
This is a dwarf apricot. If you've got a doorstep and that's all, you can plant it in a tub and enjoy its fruits. Crocks in the bottom to cover the drainage holes, and then some ordinary peat-free multi-purpose compost inside.
Apricots love a sunny spot. To enjoy fruit this summer, look for a tree where young fruits are already starting to form.
I've really soaked the tree in its pot. That's very important when you're planting anything. Tap off the pot.
Then I tease out the roots, plant it at the right level, fill in and remove any unwanted branches.
Apricots, it's always summer pruning, never in winter. How quickly will this little apricot fruit? Look at that.
Frances is also enjoying the first harvest from her garden.
I'm near the end of the garden makeover and I'm really pleased with how it's going. My chilli farm is beginning to produce some chilies. I've got some strawberries ripening, figs look like they're ripe, which is very exciting. So lots happening. Some of the vegetables that I planted last week are looking a little bit questionable, so we'll see how they do. But it's absolutely full of lush edibles and I'm really pleased with it. But there are clever ways of getting even more into a tiny space. When you're looking for somewhere to grow your edibles, I always say, look up. There's this bit of wall space which is perfect for hanging a hanging basket.
Think of hanging baskets and you'll picture clusters of brightly coloured flowers. But Frances is hoping to achieve the same effect with vegetables.
I'm a firm believer that veg can be as beautiful as flowers. Key thing to remember is the fuller it is, the more you need to water it and the more you need to feed it. Now the first plant for me, which is a must when you're talking about colour, is beetroots. They're also incredibly good for you and they're delicious.
Not only is beetroot great for salads, its leaves are rich in calcium and iron.
They need a bit of space for the actual beets to develop, and the leaves themselves have lovely red veining, so they're really beautiful. And then something I absolutely love is chard. In this kind of space, it'll be more of a cut and come again type crop. And then just to really fill the gaps in between these, I'm going to add loads of different kinds of kale. And for my finishing flourish, it's always a great idea with a hanging basket to give it some spillage. So I'm using my favourite nasturtiums again, just around the edges. They'll hang over and they'll flower and they'll look absolutely beautiful. And it will grow so quickly and it will taste amazing too, which is the most important thing.
Frances is also squeezing in one last crop of climbing veg.
This is something I've wanted to try for ages, and it's called forest gardening. Now the theory is that you mimic what would happen in the wild. So you'd get a woodland and you'd have a kind of ground cover, you'd have a shrub layer, and then you'd have things climbing up the trees. So what I'm doing is just planting, this is a French climbing bean, at the base of this tree.
French beans can be planted until July. The climbing kind can grow up to 2.5 metres high, so if you don't have a tree, then a wigwam will work as a support.
And this will not harm the fig tree at all. It's an annual vegetable, so the roots won't invade the roots of the fig. And actually, in all beans and members of the pea family, the roots have these nodules that actually enrich the soil with nitrogen. So this will help the fig tree to grow in the long run. My final edible. This one's not for me, this is for the dog. And this is normally the gardener's enemy. This is couch grass. But in a pot here, it should stay fairly contained. Now, whether it's for digestive aids or just because they like the taste, dogs and cats do usually need a little bit of grass to chew. So if you have the room, it's always worth including some.
Just 8 weeks ago, Frances's garden was an uninspiring 5-metre-long narrow backyard. Its only feature was a bare brick wall. Now it's transformed.
Now I have a chilli farm, I have an orchard, I have a whole veg garden, and it looks absolutely beautiful. It's the garden that I always wanted. Now I have a sanctuary and a space that keeps me very, very busy and hopefully well fed all the way through the summer.
With every inch of my veg patches full to bursting, I'm planning my own mini makeover using gorgeous plants that'll give my crops a helping hand.
What I'm doing here is making a new border to frame the veg patch. These are really sturdy wooden troughs equipped with holes in the bottom for drainage. Very important.
First, I'm adding structure and scent in the form of topiarised bay trees.
Now, bay trees are great in a kitchen garden for obvious reasons. They're good in the kitchen. I mean, these leaves are wonderful for winter soups and stews. They're also wonderful for winter in the garden because, being evergreen, they stay this shape and form.
Topiary bay trees have a shallow root system, so they'll be happy to grow in these 30-centimetre wide containers. Adding one in each of the outer troughs and 2 in the middle draws the eye inwards.
And you can trim it whenever you want to, but clip it for the last time in about September, and then it will stay crisp of outline right the way through the winter.
To contrast with the evergreens, I'm adding splashes of colour in the form of frothy, pastel-hued perennials.
If you have strawberries, raspberries, peas and beans which aren't cropping terribly well, the chances are the flowers aren't being pollinated. Planting flowers alongside your veg patch will draw in bees, hoverflies, other pollinating insects like bees to a honeypot. This is a plant I've always been very fond of. Bees love it. Scabious. It's called butterfly blue, and it tends to flower over a much longer period of time. This is a salvia called Velocity Blue, and it looks a bit like a skyrocket, doesn't it? Blues, pinks, a little bit of pale yellow. I like to think that this rather plain veg patch that we had has been hugely improved by my little narrow border of bee-friendly flowers. Job done, and I think that's really rather lovely.
Should we go and see what we can harvest?
In Warwickshire,
There's one here. Who's having that one?
David's traditional veg patch is bursting with delicious treats.
Wow!
I want a
Flower for you.
But he's still found room for a pet project he's always wanted to try.
Today's a great day because we're going to start to grow some proper giant veg.
For the competitive veg grower, growing your own is all about the wow factor. Nurturing traditional veg until it grows to jaw-dropping proportions, they enter these monsters into competitions around Britain, all for the prestige of having Britain's biggest veg.
Kevin, you there?
Yeah, hi David, you okay?
Yeah, very good, thanks, mate.
Last year, Kevin Forty set a world record with this 53-pound beetroot and has agreed to share his monster veg growing secrets.
Initially, you need to identify a good seed source. These seeds may look the same as you get from a normal seed packet, but these seeds here are bred to produce record-breaking fruits and vegetables.
And then what tips have you got for growing?
If you give a vegetable more space, the plant has more air, so bigger roots allows you to get bigger, healthier harvests. If you want to encourage leafy leaves, chicken manure is very high in nitrogen.
So more space, more food, more water. I appreciate it, mate.
Yeah, thanks David, cheers.
In his quest to compete with the experts, David's trying out 2 different varieties. But first, he adds a sprinkling of Kevin's magic formula.
Chicken manure. You'll be relieved to know that it is not horrible, stinky manure, and you just simply sprinkle it over the surface of the soil like that.
A true crowd pleaser in the monster veg world is the cabbage. Cabbage plants can be planted now for harvesting in September, but David's found a variety that can grow up to 7 times bigger than an ordinary cabbage.
This is called Robinson's Giant. I can get 4 in if I plant them 30 centimetres apart. I've got to keep an eye open for the lovely cabbage white butterflies because they lay their eggs on the underside of the leaves. Then the caterpillars come out and scoff them. You need to pull them off and get rid of them pretty quickly.
Leeks are another favourite amongst competitive veg growers. As well as length and girth, prize-winning leeks are known for the whiteness of their stems.
This particular variety is called Mammoth Blanche.
And Mammoth Blanche will grow 3 times as big as an ordinary leek, and there's a trick for whitening them as they grow.
The experts, the Kevins of the growing world, they use a little bit of piping so it grows up and taller. Of course, as they get it bigger and they get it bigger. But for the time being, certainly for the first 3 weeks, I'm going to leave them as they are to get settled in the bed here.
For his final bed, David's had a delivery that'll take pride of place in his veg patch.
Kevin has been growing this cabbage since January. It was supposed to be for a special show, but under the current circumstances, it's been cancelled, so he's gifted it to me.
It's already a metre wide.
I don't think I've ever dug so deep for a vegetable before.
But over the next few months, it could grow a third bigger.
I can't wait to see what the kids think of it.
With the final piece of the puzzle in place, David's transformation of his traditional veg patch is complete. What began as a few planters around the greenhouse is now filled with delicious treats that'll keep his family fed throughout the year. With abundant raised beds, fruit trees and bushes, containers filled with barbecue-friendly treats, a mini allotment stuffed with autumn and winter veg, and cold frames packed with tender sweet potatoes and aubergines.
That cabbage is bigger than you, mate. Huge. Wow. Be gentle with it. Since we started creating all these extra beds, the interest of the kids have been phenomenal. We come down every morning to water to see how things have grown. It's that magic, and it's doing it as a family that makes the difference. We need to give it a name. What should we call it?
Cabbage.
I was going to call it Alan.
Cheeky. While David's plot has expanded week by week, Katie has been finding ways to grow fruit and veg in the smallest and trickiest of spaces, and she's not done yet.
I still do have one area that I want to make a bit of a tasty destination.
She's going to transform her small patio into an elegant and delicious tasting seating area.
This time I'm going off the ground with using these containers because I want everything to be surrounding me at a pickable and sniffable height. I'm going to be growing lots of salad crops that I use really regularly.
In a lower level container, she's adding spring onions.
It has been lovely to be able to just go out with the scissors and snip your own.
And mixed salad leaves.
This wonderful stuff is American landcress. Now it tastes like watercress, but it doesn't need running water to grow. You can grow it in part shade, you can harvest it and it will come back, and it'll even grow through the winter months.
At a sniffable height, Katie's filling a taller container with one of her favourite herbs, zesty lemon thyme.
Thyme loves free draining compost, so I'm going to add some grit. I'd say maybe 20% grit to 80% compost. In this little pot, I've got a little compact marjoram and tarragon, which I love.
And finally, a little-known member of the mint family, hyssop.
Now it gets to about 60 centimetres tall. It kind of has a lovely floral taste to it as well. And apparently, you can put a teaspoon of it into your Yorkshire puddings.
Katie's adding colour and scent at eye level too.
I absolutely love roses, and this one is no exception. It's called Golden Celebration, and isn't it just? Look at it. Oh, it smells so delicious. It's like sherbet lemons with a cream tea. It's just absolutely amazing.
This fragrant rose will keep flowering right across the summer if it's deadheaded regularly.
Roses are hungry plants, and I usually scrape off a good couple of inches off the top of the container of soil, and then I replace that with a mulch or a new compost. I'm going to underplant it with lavender, another of my favourites, and it will hopefully surround me with lovely scent when I'm sat down. Now I'm trying my best to arrange these so they really kind of sweep around the seating area. I want a height at the back and then lots of things at the front, kind of at reachable height. I'm really pleased.
Thanks to ingenious ideas and clever design, Katie now has 6 individual miniature fruit and veg gardens, all of which are bursting with produce.
I did my indoor planters, which I have to say have been amazing. We have used them every day to make salad dressings and flavoured drinks and stuff. I've loved having them there. I love my green wall, that's really matured. My hydroponics have been nerdy and quite exciting. I've liked watching how they've come on. My steel planters, I think, have got to be my favourite bit of the garden. They just look so statemently, and I'm really, really pleased with those. I think I am a total convert to growing fruit and veg. Oh, they're so yummy.
It's been a strange old summer for all of us, particularly for Alison and me. My wife has become a camera person. Don't be afraid, Alison, I'm coming over there just to have a look. Move back. Here we are, on our own, but growing our own food, and there really is no thrill like it. From this fork to the fork in the kitchen.
Even if you only have a window box or a tub, growing something and then eating it yourself not only feeds the body, it feeds the soul as well.
I hope you've enjoyed growing your own. Till the next time, bye-bye.
From pots to planters, patios to gardens, nothing tastes better than fresh, mouth-watering,
Just smells delicious.
homegrown fruit and veg.
Freshness, pleasure and achievement. And that is what all this is about.
So join Mrs. T and me
Well done, Alison. Good day's work.
and the rest of the Love Your Garden team
And they'll flower and they'll look absolutely beautiful.
in our gardens.
Look at that! As we reveal the secrets to growing your own.
Beautiful.
This week,
All right, I know you're hungry.
we're filling every last patch of soil
As you get glorious aromas assailing your nostrils.
and using every trick in the book
Like something off at Starship Enterprise.
to get the most from our veggies
And get whole new plants for free.
and surrounding our crops with beautiful flowers.
These will carry on flowering till the first frosts of autumn. You know, at this time of the year, when the sun's at its highest, the days are at their longest, and every single leaf and flower is enjoying the sunshine and hopefully the gentle rain, our gardens are transformed. Remember the strawberry pot I planted up a few weeks ago? Look at it now. The secret with this has been to keep it gently moist at all times. Strawberry pots can be an absolute monkey for drying out because these little pockets down the side tend to drain quickly. So I've been very careful to make sure they've stayed damp as well. Plenty of sunshine, and then we're absolutely covered in strawberries.
On the veg patch, some plants just need a support as they grow, but others require more careful handling.
Including my runner beans on the grandchildren's wigwam. Up they're going. Do you see? Some of them, though, are a bit reluctant to twine. I've given them a piece of string to set them off, but still one or two aren't sure where they're going, so I just always give them a bit of a helping hand. Worth checking every couple of days. As soon as they start spiralling up there, that'll be away now. It now knows where it is, and off it will go.
Now we're well into the growing season, I want to fill every last inch of space I still have. In between a row of leeks and parsnips, I'm going to squeeze in what's known as a catch crop.
What I'm going to use here is spring onions. Now, if I were to put beetroot or another root crop alongside the parsnips, they'd compete for underground nutrition. But these spring onions are quite narrow and slender. They'll come up between the two and won't compete too much.
Even in containers, planting fast-growing catch crops like spring onions in the gaps between slower-growing veg means you'll have something to harvest while you wait for your late-season crops.
Kind of plant them in little clusters rather than separate them into individuals. They really won't mind.
I've got them here about 4 or 5 inches from the rows on either side of them because the leeks and the parsnips won't overcrowd them.
this is also a perfect time of year to add another type of treat to my veg patch.
Kitchen gardens have always been places where you have cut flowers as well as vegetables, things to feed the soul as well as the tummy. So I grow peonies here. I mean, look at that. Do you know what it's called? Pillow talk. I didn't name it. The thing about peonies is don't plant them too deeply. They've got big fat tubers like a yam or a sweet potato. Keep them really near the surface of the soil, then they'll settle in and they'll flower reliably.
In other gaps in the bed, I'm planting more cut flowers, starting with a row of cosmos. The flowers appear within weeks. They'll come back each time you cut them, and they're just as happy in outdoor containers and pots.
Spacing them about a foot apart, because they make quite a big branched plant. They'll be way up here, and that gives them room to spread sideways. And every time you cut a flower, you'll encourage the plant to branch a little bit and produce some more.
Do you want your head in it?
Quite like my head in it.
Oh, you know.
Are you fed up with my head?
Possibly.
Really good watering in, and we're settled.
For real drama, I'm also adding a plant that'll give me stunning big-headed blooms every year.
This is a Dahlia tuber. They grew last year, they're perennial, and you plant these any time from the end of May right the way through June. There are so many flower forms: spiky cactus dahlias, decorative round ones, tight pom-poms in a whole range of colours.
First, I'm adding organic matter to the soil. Then, I plant each tuber so it sits 5 centimetres below ground level. A stake will support them as they grow.
And the great thing is that these will carry on flowering till the first frosts of autumn.
While I'm making the most of every inch of my veg patch, Frances has plans for a different part of her plot.
Everything is growing really well now. My first tomato flowers are just forming down there, and I have some strawberries which are ripening nicely. I have eaten one, it was delicious. The fig was getting a little bit thirsty because it's still in its pot, so I've just put a bottle of water there upside down which feeds it directly to its roots, and that's improved its appearance a lot in this dry weather. And the hop is absolutely enormous. In fact, it won't be many days before it's taller than the ladder. But what is still looking very bare is that wall over there, the dining room window wall. So I want to make that view a lot nicer.
Frances is going to improve her view and save some pennies by creating a waste not, want not window box using leftovers from her shopping.
I'm a big fan of propagating things myself from the supermarket that you'd normally just throw away in the bin and get whole new plants for free.
Frances will propagate by taking cuttings from an existing plant and growing them to create new plants.
So things like a bulb, fennel, leeks, lemongrass, spring onion and chicory. And it could not be more easy. I'll do some celery. Take that basal area, which is where the roots will form, and you chop it nice and neatly with a clean knife. And then once you've cut it, you just put it into a glass and fill that with water, and you'll find it will start shooting new growth at the top within about a week. And they all do it at slightly different rates. So things like lemongrass will root very quickly, as will leeks and spring onions. And fennel and celery take a little bit longer to form roots, but they very quickly form lovely, healthy shoots. And they'll sit there for a few weeks until they have roots.
She's already been propagating new veg that's ready to go outside. And is going to plant them in a homemade window box made from leftover timber.
There are lots of different ways to hang a window box, but one of the most simple, especially with a small one like this, is 2 hefty hooks in the wall with raw plugs, and then 2 hooks on the box itself. There we go. Now the idea is that when you're looking out the window, it will look a little bit like a meadow, but it will actually all be entirely edible. I've never actually grown things like this before, so it's a little bit of an experiment. I've always managed to get them to root and grow in the water, but not seen how they then do in soil, so we'll see. So basically just putting the spring onions, dotting them around as spaced out as I can. Now because these are vegetables, the further apart they are, the bigger they'll get. So bulb fennel is a really delicious herb. It's one of my favourite herbs. The foliage of them is so feathery and light and beautiful. It's a really stunning plant. See how that one grows. And then finally the leek. There. Now that is my plants from my old veg.
With the final addition of some hazel twigs, spring onions and fiery orange nasturtiums, for less than a tenner, Frances now has her own indoor and outdoor plant nursery.
And I'll be able to enjoy them in my cooking, and when I'm sitting there at my dining room table and looking out at this lovely framed view.
Throughout the growing season, to ensure my crops stay healthy, I'm keeping an eye out for unwanted visitors.
Now, there are irritations when it comes to growing vegetables, and we call them pests and diseases. And if you're growing broad beans, you will undoubtedly get black fly, black bean aphid.
Aphids suck the sap from plants, weakening their growth.
And it colonises the tops of your broad beans. So what you can do is just cut off the tips of your broad beans as soon as they start to attack, because it's those tender tips that they go for.
You can deter pests by planting certain flowers. The smell of French marigolds I've planted amongst my tomato plants helps ward off whitefly.
When it comes to lettuces, slugs love them. Now, I don't like using slug pellets. They can poison thrushes and hedgehogs, as well as slugs and snails, so kinder to use organic methods. Try and catch them if you can.
Slugs love shady spots, so a carved out grapefruit skin makes a great trap.
Nice and shady, and then you can take them and release them somewhere where they don't matter.
One of the joys of growing your own is that you can grow your family's favourite veg to order.
Look, there's that kale. Look how big it is.
And today, David's planning something special for the newest member of the Dominy clan.
We've got another favourite here, which all of us love, but Lancey in particular, and that's the sweet potato. All right, I know you're hungry.
Richer in fibre and vitamin C than ordinary spuds, sweet potatoes are great to grow for the little ones. This time of year, it's best to grow them from veg plants in a greenhouse. His is full to the brim, so David's had to find another solution.
So I'm going to grow my sweet potatoes in cold frames.
Perfect for smaller spaces, a cold frame protects tender crops if there's a cold snap and traps heat inside when it's sunny.
You can buy these, anything from £50 to, I suppose, 500, depending on the size of them. But I thought I'd have a go and make it myself. So what I've done is I've built a framework up, taller at the back, shorter at the front. And then I've taken another plank and cut it in half like that. And I'm going to use this as the slope. And then the frame just fits on top.
For the lid of his cold frame, to make it safe for the children, instead of glass, David's using durable, heat-retaining perspex.
Best thing to do is to buy an offcut. An offcut is a fraction of the price of what you pay normally, and then build the cold frame around it.
David's cut 2 frames for the roof to sandwich the perspex and screws them together, holding it in place.
Now I've left a slat out there for a reason. When the rain falls, it can wash straight off. A couple of hinges at the back, and there we've got it, a working roof.
Sweet potatoes love warmth, so David's adding layers of compost and grass as a base.
Probably about 2/3 grass to 1/3 compost. And that warmth will give well-needed boost to the sweet potatoes. They should perform really well. I'm going to try and get 4 good plants in here. In you go.
With regular watering, David's sweet potatoes should be ready for harvesting in early autumn.
I'm not going to close that completely. I'm going to put that just in there so there's a little bit of ventilation, but the heat from the rotting grass, from the sun through the top here, and also warming up the wood as well, should get these off to a really good start.
David's built another cold frame for one of Mrs. Dominy's favourite vegetables, aubergines. You can grow them outside, but they'll need a good summer. By planting in a cold frame, you've a better chance of a decent harvest.
You know, each one of these will probably sustain about, what, 5 or 6 decent-sized fruit.
Once each plant starts to flower, David will give them a dilute liquid tomato feed once a week to help them grow.
We've got your sweet potatoes and we've got Mummy's aubergines. What do you think of that?
Good job, Lancy.
The wonderful thing about a British summer is that on good days you can eat outdoors, and Alison and I have had lunch and supper out here most days on this terrace, haven't we, dear?
We have.
It's been lovely. And the one thing we love is sliced tomatoes sprinkled with
Basil.
Basil is Britain's biggest selling herb. You can grow it indoors and outdoors, and in the height of summer, we always have a container full of different varieties to pick from at lunchtime.
Now this is your bog standard supermarket basil. Very tasty, lovely, nothing wrong with it, but it's nice to have a change. This one is Greek basil, tiny leaves, and it's a sort of slightly more complex scent, it's a bit more peppery. This one is called African blue basil, and it has a sort of spicy fragrance to it. This one here is cinnamon basil. And when you just slightly rub those leaves, you do indeed get a tang of cinnamon. And the one at the front is purple or red-leaved basil.
Basil plants need plenty of sunlight and are prone to fungus if they're planted too close together.
In goes the African blue.
So I'm spacing my plants 10 centimetres apart so they get air circulating round them.
It's a wonderful job doing this. You get glorious aromas assailing your nostrils. Tends to be one of those herbs that loves it warm and sunny and then, shrivels up come the colder weather. But when it's like this, perfect basil weather. There we are, a lovely herb pot that looks good on the table with basil in it, ready for your meal.
But I've recently discovered another use for the spicy purple variety.
Now you've heard of ship in a bottle. This is basil in a bottle. Take 1 bottle of gin and top up. Then put the cork on the top and leave it to infuse there for about a week, 10 days, until you see the colour change.
It's a little early for tomatoes from the garden.
I think we'll have the Greek basil on top of it. Oh, how posh is that?
But when they're ready, we'll be able to garnish them with different flavours all summer.
And a basil gin and tonic. Looks a bit lurid. Would you like a glass, Alison?
I'd rather have a glass of rosé.
Rather have a glass of rosé. No pleasing some people, is there? Cheers.
It's now been 4 weeks since Katie planted her indoor herb boxes.
They're getting enormous, actually. So based on the fact that these have done so well, I'm going to expand my indoor garden. And I'm also going to try something new. I've always wanted to try the space-age, no-soil hydroponics.
Hydroponics is the science of growing plants in nutrient-enhanced water rather than soil, enabling certain vegetables to be grown indoors. Katie's trying out 2 different priced do-it-yourself kits.
Like something off at Starship Enterprise.
This basic model isn't cheap, but has all you need to grow from seed. It has a base into which Katie adds liquid feed and water.
And then all the kits pretty much have a basket then which your growing medium goes in, and your seeds.
And the small pot is only big enough for herbs or a small veg plant.
I'm using parsley for this. Research says that things should grow 20% quicker and you'll get a better yield. And now, I've got to plug it in. Sounds bonkers, doesn't it?
Unless you have an LED light, you'll need a sunny window to place it by, but within a week, green shoots generally start to appear. For darker rooms and bigger budgets, this faff-free model comes with its own artificial light.
Feeds itself, waters itself, and it's got these lights up here and give bigger, better growth.
It claims to be able to grow 4 different types of herbs or baby veg in just 4 weeks. You just pop them in like a toaster, add water and turn on the light.
And there we go, my own little herb garden.
As a final touch to her indoor garden, Katie's discovered another way that plants can benefit her home.
I'm going to beautify my homemade hydroponics by making a lovely arrangement of top oxygenating houseplants. Now, all plants photosynthesize, so they take in carbon dioxide that us humans breathe out and they pump out oxygen. This is Sansevieria, or mother-in-law's tongue as it's commonly known. But this one is really efficient at it. It also does what other plants don't, is it does it on the night time, so it's perfect for putting in bedrooms.
To create a striking display, Katie's adding the contrasting foliage of devil's ivy and a spider plant.
The humble spider plant has been found to quietly get rid of lots of toxins in the air in our households, and this will really help to make the air that little bit sweeter. It's not a bad day's gardening. And to think I did it all in my slippers.
Hopefully by now you'll be enjoying the first fruits from your veg patch.
Well, I've looked at them all day. This is the moment of supreme reward. Give you some strawberries now, all right?
Yummy.
Whether you have a windowsill, a tiny patio, or a big garden, if you love food, now is the perfect time to grow your own.
It's getting to your plate within moments, and that is what all this is about.
So join Mrs. T and me,
My wife doesn't think it's clear, so I should be doing that again.
and the Love Your Garden team, in our gardens,
But nearly everything here is edible.
as we reveal the secrets
Oh, he looks jazzy.
Of growing your own.
this week.
Who likes barbecues?
We're going big on flavour and goodness, planting crunchy, mouth-watering veg that's perfect for the grill,
Absolutely delicious.
filling our gardens with fiery flavours,
This is why you should grow your own chilies. They look so beautiful.
and beautifying our beds with delicious, nutritious treats.
They are absolutely packed full of antioxidants.
It's the height of the growing season, and my garden is exploding with colour.
These ornamental alliums are glistening as though they're cut from metallic foil. And over in the veg patch, things are growing like wildfire. But I've been watering to keep them growing. Just look, lettuces, red cabbages protected from the pigeons, and runner beans which are already starting to go right up the pole.
Most exciting of all is that some crops are ready to be picked.
I sowed these just 5 weeks ago, and look, already lovely big fat radishes. And when they're this big, they're ready for pulling. Take this in the house, rinse it. Here's one I've rinsed. And then hot, crunchy, white-fleshed, beautiful.
And now my lettuce leaves are ready to pick too.
They're coming beautifully now, and it's a case of coming out and picking the odd leaf off. And this is where growing your own really comes to the fore. That was a mistake, wasn't it? Pick all the way over and you'll realise instantly the joy of having fresh picked produce rather than something from a shop.
And there's still room for some new crops.
For some time I've been wanting to get more fruit into my kitchen garden, so I've got a rather neat solution. And that is by using these little beauties. These are called step-over trees. I've got 2 pears and 2 apples. And what they are normal pears. This is a variety called Doyenne du Comice, which is succulent, the best pear. What step-over trees are fruit trees grafted onto a dwarfing rootstock. Now this is the rootstock, and this makes sure it doesn't grow into a socking great pear tree. The beauty of these is they take up very little space, and they do give you a reasonable crop.
Not of my bum.
I haven't room for a large tree in my bed, so by adding a row of 4 step-overs, I'll have my own micro-orchard.
What I am doing is making a sort of dish around the base so that I can keep this well watered. If it just has flat soil, it'll all run off.
I'm planting the trees about 1 metre apart, and I'll prune the side shoots back to encourage them to keep forming fruits in future years.
Giving a really good soaking in. So I now have a lovely little fruitful boundary to my veg patch, and I'll be eating apples by the autumn. Look at these. I'll wait a bit longer for the pears, but they're definitely step over, even for those with a relatively modest inside leg. There you are. Grow well, little trees.
In a rather windy Yorkshire, Katie's discovering another of the pleasures of growing your own.
I have been on a mission to try and sneak in as many delicious edibles I cook with into the garden as well as inside the house.
Her next project is her most ambitious yet. A new container garden full of super healthy foods that are super pretty too.
First plant I'm going to pop in is a blueberry. Now these are huge family favourites in our house, and they're really a fabulous plant. As long as you plant them in ericaceous compost, which is acidic, they'll be very happy.
Blueberries are rich in vitamins and minerals that are believed to lower blood pressure and cholesterol. To enjoy fruits this summer, buy a self-fertile variety that's already in flower. It'll need a sunny spot to maximise fruit production.
The nice thing about them is, as a plant, they're really attractive. They've got these pretty flowers on, and then they are absolutely packed full of antioxidants, so really good for you. From deep purple blueberries, I'm going super green with parsley. Now, parsley is a brilliant herb to have fresh in your garden. Parsley is packed full of flavour and goodness, and is actually full of vitamin K, which is really important for healthy bones.
Next, Katie's planting 2 of the kings of healthy veg, and each of them only needs a half-metre square container.
Now, I've made these basic wooden planters. They're really straightforward. It's a treated timber. You can make them out of old pallets if you had old pallets hanging around. I'm going to clad them in slate. I've got these from the roof when we had the roof done. I've made the planter so it's the same size as 2 slates on top of each other, and that way I don't have to cut them. I can just glue them straight onto the sides. Thank you, my glamorous assistant. As with blueberries, things that are dark in colour are usually a really good health indicator. And so is the same with this, which is purple sprouting broccoli, and it's one of my favourite vegetables. I absolutely love it.
Rich in vitamin C, which is good for the immune system, purple sprouting broccoli can be harvested through the summer and on into the autumn.
And when everything else has died down in the garden, this will come into its own and be a big beacon of gorgeousness in the borders of a winter. But what it doesn't like, funnily enough, is strong winds. You and me both, broccoli.
Katie's final option really delivers on value for money when it comes to both goodness and good looks.
Kale has a bit of a goody-goody reputation, doesn't it, of like health freaks, but I love the stuff.
Not only is kale packed with energy-boosting vitamin B, it needs little space to grow and the leaves make a stunning display.
The wonderful thing about it is you can harvest it for 10 months of the year. There are not many other crops you can say that about. It's absolutely bonza. So there you go, my 4 superfoods. All super healthy, super good looking and super tasty.
One of the pleasures of growing your own in midsummer is that crops you've been growing from seed indoors can finally be planted out.
The tomatoes I planted in the greenhouse just a few weeks ago when they were only that big. Baby, look at them now. These youngsters here, because we're well into June, we can plant them outside.
Tomato plants need a sunny spot and will continue to grow, so I've assigned each of them a stake and left 50 centimetres between plants.
By sinking a flower pot in alongside the tomato plant, I can water into the pot and it will go straight down to the roots where it's needed rather than just running off the top.
There we are. You can even grow outdoor tomatoes like this on a doorstep if it's sunny, or a patio in a growing bag or a large pot. And by the end of the summer you will be getting a crop if the sun keeps shining. The joy of anticipation and the slight postponement of gratification.
When temperatures soar, we Brits love to cook outside. The nation's barbecue market is now worth £1.8 billion, and growing your own veg guarantees you'll always have the freshest flavours for your grill.
You better not be eating them strawberries!
David's traditional veg patch for feeding his young family has been expanding by the week, and it's starting to bear fruit.
What you got there, Alice?
A massive leaf.
Look at that! Do you want to eat any of that?
Yeah.
Should we go? Yeah. Come on then. Party? Who likes barbecues? We've got so much growing here, but now I want to grow something specific for our family barbecues.
Creating a barbecue-friendly veg patch is simple to do and doesn't require much space.
I'm actually going to put it straight on top of the lawn.
David's 2 new raised beds are made from recycled plastic and don't need tools to assemble.
I'm going to use the old cardboard box as a liner at the base, so it will stop the grass from growing, and eventually the grass will die off, turn into compost, and so will the cardboard as well.
He's chosen veg that'll grow fast at the height of summer, don't need much space, and almost no preparation before they go on the grill.
We love having peppers on the barbecue. We grill them. They're really nice. Now, there are a couple of options. There's the bell peppers, but there's also the long, pointy ones. That's the ones we like. I put them on skewers onto the barbecue. Now, this one's called Marconi. It's a faster growing one.
Midsummer is a perfect time for growing pepper plants. When they start producing flowers, you can feed them once a week with dilute liquid tomato feed, and within weeks you'll have crunchy veg that's perfect for the barbie.
And that's it. 4 plants in this particular bed will grow about 1 metre tall, and they'll produce loads of those really sweet, flavoursome, long, pointed peppers.
In full sun, pepper plants will happily grow, but adding a poly cover
It's not a doll's house out of there.
keeps the heat in and encourages even faster growth.
There we go.
David's next choice, courgettes, are great value for money. One plant should generate enough crops to feed a small family. And the flowers are edible too.
Now the secret is never to let them grow too big. Harvest your courgettes when they're about 10 to 15 centimetres. So I'm planting just one, this big one, right in the middle of the bed, so it can have pride of place.
He's also found room for another barbecue favourite, Mange 2 peas.
If you pick them young, they're fantastic, that crunch.
Unlike the majority of peas that need to be shelled, you just pick the whole pod. They're a perfect instant pick and cook option. Like any pea plant, they need a bit of support as they grow.
It looks a bit enchanted with these lifeless twigs, but when they start to grow through it, it'll all become green again.
With some added protection from the local bird life,
That was a bit urgent.
this barbecue veg patch full of fast-growing, easy-to-cook crops is complete.
There's no reason why these two little areas here shouldn't keep the barbecue stocks all the way through July and August. Lovely.
Thanks to the long summer days, the team's gardens are bursting with new crops.
Some already happening, some to come. That's what veg growing's all about.
And there's still time to grow new things.
Hey, there you are. Hello. Hello. How are you? Oh, you're all looking sort of exhausted, actually. Too much gardening.
My indoor planters that I made have done so well. I mean, the lemon balm is like 3 foot tall in the kitchen. I can't drink enough gin to flavour it with.
Because we've got the opportunity of being at home a bit more, what did you think you'd like to have a go at? Anything?
I've always wanted to try growing as many different chilies as I can, all different flavours and heats.
Hot stuff.
Like it.
Wow.
I'd quite like to have a go at hydroponics, bit techie.
So, growing without soil, just growing in water?
Yeah.
Well, you are in Yorkshire, love. We've got plenty of it up there, normally. Indoors or outdoors? Or both?
Indoors, yeah.
Indoors.
I like the fact that you can have things all year round, like strawberries in winter.
So Alan, what's on your list then?
Well, I've always liked melons.
Thought so. I'll put you down as a melon man.
Yes.
You know that you have to get bras to hold them when they grow.
Well, that should keep us all busy. Frances has already turned one side of her narrow garden into a pretty fruit and veg patch.
Remember my gingers that I put in pots and they had just tiny shoots on them? Well, look at them now. I'm so pleased with that.
And she has the perfect spot for her pet project.
And down at this end of the garden, I have a tucked away corner that I want to turn into a huge flavour experience. I'm actually going to turn this whole space into a chilli farm.
It's quite a challenge. Frances is planning to grow 11 different varieties of chilli from seed and plants. When growing them from seed, it's best to start them off in a greenhouse or, as Frances is doing, in a cold frame.
Now I'm going to make 4 holes about 5 millimetres deep into that compost. And I'll just put one of those chilli seeds into each of the 4 holes I've made. There we go. Cover it with soil and firm that all down. It's quite a good idea with seeds and cuttings to water from the bottom. So put that pot into the tray with water and just leave that for a few minutes to soak in. In this lovely warm weather, I would expect them to come up probably within 4 days, maybe a week.
Frances is also experimenting with seriously scorching chilli plants.
The thing that we all associate with chilies is their heat. What causes the heat is the chemicals actually in the chilli. People always think it's the seeds that give the heat, but actually it's not, it's the pith. And anything that's near that pith is extra specially hot.
Some chilies are so fiery, that a measurement known as the Scoville scale has been created, so growers can differentiate between the hottest and the mildest.
Something like this, which is called Trinidad Perfume, and that has no heat. That's 0 to 15 rating on the Scoville scale. And the strongest go up to really high numbers. So something like this, which is Trinidad Scorpion, that is over 1 million. Do not bite into that unless you know what you're doing. We all know somebody who likes to have a bit of a show off and eat the hottest chilli they possibly can. I'm giving a very easy visual guide to how hot these chillies are by just painting the rim of the pot. Black is, well, you'd only be stupid if you ate one. And green is, it won't do anyone any harm at all, it's completely mild.
Chilli plants need lots of sun to thrive, and like most tomato plants, need feeding after a few weeks and a stake to support them as they grow.
This is why you should grow your own chillies if you can, because there's so much choice about how they taste. Like this. This is Ackee Red, and it actually has a lemony flavour as well as being fairly hot. But also because they look so beautiful.
It's always good to try new things or things you haven't done for a long while. And I haven't grown melons in ages.
Melons are one of my favourite summer fruits, but they're also one of the trickiest to grow. To make sure of a harvest this summer, I'm growing them from plants and in the greenhouse.
Right, so that's my framework done. To support... Oh, don't they smell gorgeous? Cantaloupe melons are the best ones to grow in a greenhouse, I think. 'Cause the flavour, the fragrance, all of it. The orange-fleshed ones. This is what it's going to look like. This is what my plants look like. That behind that little tiny flower down there is a round blob, and that will be your melon.
Once the new plants are established,
Good watering. Melons are greedy because they're just about 95% water in their makeup.
my next challenge will be to pollinate the flowers on the plants as they grow to encourage the formation of fruits. Each plant has both male and female flowers. You have to take the male flower and rub the pollen from it onto the female by hand.
The male flower and the female flower are easy to tell apart. Female has a little melon behind it. The male doesn't. One male will do 4 females. I'm saying nothing.
As the melons grow, once they're too heavy to support themselves, they'll need to be hung in a net.
You can fasten these nets to the framework and hold your melons until the smell gives away the fact that they're ripe.
This really is the ideal time of year for growing your own.
I have a carrot now.
You want a carrot now? Let's let them grow up a little bit more first.
And if you keep it up, the best bit, harvest time, isn't far away.
Till the next time. Bye-bye.